Matthew chapter 6, verse 8. I'm going to read the entire verse, but really the emphasis is on the second clause. Verse 8, I'm reading from the New International Version, says, "Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask." Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask. Emphasis is on the second clause again. Your Father knows what you need before you ask. From that verse, that second clause, context of chapter 6, I want to talk on this topic today. God knows. God knows. No matter who you are, where you've been, or what you've done, God knows. As I was contemplating what I was going to preach about today, several things came to my mind. Currently, we're studying forgiveness again in our midweek discipleship classes, our Wednesday Bible study. Some of you may need to sit in with us. I got a sneaking suspicion that some of y'all might be struggling with forgiveness. Come on out here on Wednesday night. You just might learn something. I was thinking about forgiveness, but the idea of prayer seems to be staying on my mind. I could be wrong, but I'm convinced that a lot of people are going to be praying a lot in the coming days. So I think it's going to be very important that we don't misappropriate, misapply what prayer is and what prayer's purpose is. Most of you know that I have my own way of saying things. How many of you know that? I like to say things, I like to phrase statements in such a way that they sound unbelievable. That they sound like they go against everything we've ever been taught to believe. Well, those of you who didn't know that, hang around for a while, and you'll be exposed to it too. Most of what I say, I don't take back. Because, believe it or not, before I say it, I've already thought about it. And I meant what I said. So for those of you who might get shocked when I say something, I meant it. But you need to keep on listening so you get a full understanding. On occasion, I've been known to say that people pray too much. Now, at first hearing, that sounds really stupid. Especially for a preacher pastor to be saying something like that. After all, we've been taught that prayer changes things. Ain't we been taught that? Any of us been around for more than 5 minutes. We've heard it. We've heard it sung. We've heard it stated. Prayer changes things. In Luke chapter 18 and verse 1, Jesus told a parable to show that men ought always to pray and not to faint. That's in the book. Well, if there's one thing that I've learned in my 40 plus years of serious Bible study, it is that you need to let the Bible say what it says and not what you want it to say. Now, I have learned that. Let the Bible say what it says and not what you want it to say. You see, constant prayer is not the problem. I think the issue is, what are you praying for? And are you, when you get through praying, are you willing to say to God, thy will be done? You heard me say something else before. I struggle with saying to God, your will be done. Because if the truth be told, what I really want is for my will to be done. And I want to outline some stuff for God to do. And then beg and plead with him and fool him, cajole him, guilt trip him into doing what I want him to do. Can I get a witness here? I have a strong, we ain't gonna shout today, you know. I have a strong suspicion that too often we are praying when we ought to be doing. At other times we are doing when we ought to be praying. Now that really messed up your mind, didn't it? Have you ever thought about it? Sometimes we pray about issues that we can handle ourselves. Lord, don't let me burn up this ham that I'm making. Keep looking in the oven. Buy you one of them little timers and set it. You want God to set off an alarm in your brain. Can I get a witness? God equipped us to be able to handle some life situation. Lord, take care of my blood pressure. I ain't gonna take my medicine. I ain't gonna walk. I ain't gonna get no exercise. I'm gonna keep eating all the grease I can. But Lord, I don't claim this high blood pressure. I told you before, you getting ready to die. Then sometimes we engage in activities before and without seeking divine guidance. Sometimes we ask God to do stuff for us that we don't want to spend the energy and time on. Sometimes we don't seek divine guidance because we want to do it our way and not God's way. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus gives us a discourse on prayer that's both informative and enlightening. The context of this discourse is a warning from Jesus to be careful of your motives for doing good works. To the Jews, there were three great works of religious life: almsgiving, giving to the poor, prayer, and fasting. The problem is not with the works themselves. The problem lies in the fact that sometimes even good things are done from the wrong motives. Jesus warns that when these things are done with the intention of bringing glory to the doer, they lose their value. A person can give alms not to help the needy, but to demonstrate his or her generosity and to bask in the praise of people. Sometimes folk do stuff just so somebody will call their name. Some folk can't work for Jesus if you don't call their name. You don't believe me, do you? Just give some folks some work and forget to call their name. Forget to acknowledge that they did what they did. Jesus said that a person can pray in such a way that the prayer is not really addressed to God, but to the people who are listening. Then, on the other hand, a person can fast, not so much for the good of his or her own soul, not to humble himself or herself in the sight of God, but to show the world how disciplined he or she is. You heard me say something else before too. I don't do much fasting.